I started playing the tuba in the Denver Public Schools when I was in 4th grade. And 2 years later, we moved to Ann Arbor, Michigan. And so I grew up with the University of Michigan in my, as they say in Michigan, backyard. So it was, it was readily available to me, to go to band concerts where I used to go and listen to her play in the symphony band at Michigan. So Kathy and I have known each other for a little while. While I was at Michigan, I got in the Grand Rapids Symphony and I played there for 2 years. A little while later, I got in the Houston Symphony. I played there for 2 years, and then went to the New York Philharmonic, and I played there for 22 years. And I got focal dystonia and ended my playing career. So I just moved to Denver because I liked living here as a kid. And lo and behold, this lovely lady invited me to join her studio at DU. I mean, who does that? Only this one, So here I am.
I started my professional career playing with the Hudson Valley Philharmonic in New York State. And then after I moved to Colorado, I did a lot of freelancing work. I taught in the public schools and loved it. And then I founded the Denver Brass. And it's the large brass chamber music that I am passionate about. I'm crazy about greater than 10 brass instruments with percussion. I've discovered that people from all backgrounds and all walks of life all love brass music. So brass music then becomes really relevant and inspirational to everyone. And I think it's that passion about the large brass ensemble that makes this a great fit for me here at Lamont School of Music, because I love the interaction with students and faculty, trading ideas about how we can all grow as musicians. And I love the opportunity of encouraging our students to go out in the world and make a difference through the glorious sound of chimes.
The carillon.
And brass.
There was a student here a few years ago, and he asked me, I've just gotten my first private student. What do I tell them? And I said, well, how do you know what to tell them until you've heard them play? You just don't know. So I wait till I hear somebody play and just go from there. I try to get a sense of who they are, how they think, what flips the light on, and approach it from there. I mean, I know what I think I would like to hear from them, and I'm also open to what they want to hear from themselves. And so I feel like it's kind of loose, but there are certain musical principles that are inviolate. So we stick to those and try and build out from that.
And I think that both Warren and I are really big on encouraging the students to be really curious, to put what they do under a microscope and understand when something is working well for them and what caused it to work well. Also to listen to a lot of other people playing, listen to other instruments, listen to vocalists, and just have a great picture in your mind of what you want to sound like. Have an expectation of what you want to sound like, and then we do the hard work to get there. And it's really important that all of our students know that they're going to be their own teachers for the rest of their lives. The journey never ends. We're always learning, we're always discovering, and we're never happy with what we're doing because we always want to be perfect. Thus, our job is never boring.
It's, it varies from year to year. We try and keep a studio of about 4. And by and large, it ends up being 2 and 2, 2 undergrads, 2 grads. Although that's not set in stone either. It depends on what we need in a given year and who we hear and who we like. And, if either of us see talent, motivation, and interest, I'm game. I'm game, and and I'm sure Kathy is too. So it varies, but by and large, four is a good number for the school. Ensembles, we have an orchestra, we have wind ensemble, and there are big bands that could or could not use a tuba, depending. So each of those large ensembles rehearse twice a week. So a person in the school would have 2 orchestra rehearsals a week, or 2 wind ensembles a week, or 2 big band ensembles a week. That's the large ensemble opportunities we have.
And then we have lots of smaller chamber ensemble opportunities. Most of our students participate in a brass chamber ensemble, most likely a brass quintet. All of these ensembles meet twice a week. Could be brass quintet, could be a brass trio, could be a woodwind quintet. We have small jazz chamber combos of all different styles. And then new this past year, we started modern music ensembles, and that can be a combination of any 2 or more instruments. So it might be tuba and flute, and we encourage the students to invent their own new combination as well.
Well, they have music history. They'll have theory. They'll have some ear training. And the graduate students, there's a course they need to take about how to do research, how to use libraries, and how to do research, academic work. There's a flat-out course for those guys to take. And, I think it's one of those things where they probably dread it going into it and while they're there, but when they have to write a paper, they're probably really glad they've had that course.
So all of the brass students gather once a week together in brass class, where we perform for one another. And then everyone gets critique from all the faculty members as well. It's a great time for all of us to come together. It's where we really establish our family feeling, which is a huge part about being at school at Lamont. It's a really supportive environment, very special place.
It's small enough where we can foster that environment, where, the family's not too big. We can sort of keep tabs on what we're all up to.
All of us function very much as cheerleaders for one another, encouraging one another to work really hard to be the best you can be. So the biggest reason to come to Lamont is that this guy is simply the finest tuba teacher in the world, not just the United States. Everyone loves studying with Warren. His lessons are really challenging, but he doesn't bite. And inspiring.
No, we have a tag team approach. I can't tell you how great it is to work with this lady. If one of us misses something, the other one's going to catch it. And we're on the same page enough in a lot of what we think that it's not really making the students ping pong going from us to the other. In fact, I've asked them about it over the years. How's this working for you? Is this okay? And I've gotten nothing but, this is great. It's fantastic. We seem to complement each other in terms of the information we give to the kids, and they don't seem confused or bewildered or torn in any way, shape, or form. So, I like to think of it as that they have both an aunt and an uncle for a teacher. So, more family.
Yeah, and if all of that is not enough, you can't beat living in Denver, Colorado. The climate is amazing. This is a semi-arid climate, which means that we have more than 245 days a year of sunshine. And when we don't have a full day of sunshine, we have part sunshine. And so life in the city is great, all kinds of cultural activities. And then get out in the mountains for hiking and skiing.
Hiking and skiing, yeah. It's lovely up there. It's just really beautiful. Yeah, it's a great place. It's a great place to live. Folks are friendly here. I mean, I lived in New York City, and contrary to popular belief, people in New York are friendly too. There's just a crusty exterior, but here there's no crusty exterior. I mean, you're just getting nice folks right off the bat.
Once you're our student, you're our kid forever. We're going to be your cheerleader for the rest of your career. This is not just float through for 4 years or
And
2
goodbye.
years.
Yeah.
We're very attached to our students. They're really important.